Welcome back, friends. It's another Monday, and I am the director of the Kinderhook Memorial Library, AnnaLee Dragon, for those of you who have not joined us in the past. I hope there are some new viewers. That's exciting. But I also hope that I haven't scared people away and I've got some return viewers. That would be great too. So this Monday, each week I pick a different subject and we talk about some books. So this week, for those of you who don't know, October is LGBTQ History Month. It's different from Pride Month, which happens in June, which coincides with the anniversary of the Stonewall riots, which were a big turning point in the LGBTQ rights movement. And they celebrate being proud of ourselves and who we are, regardless of our sexual orientation or who we love or whatever. This month, this History Month, is much more about the history of the movement and the people who made great strides towards equality for all of us, really. And so I just wanted to do a little LGBTQ history with some of the great books that we have here at the library. Obviously, this is not an extensive, complete list. This is a selection of things that I have picked and read and liked. And I haven't read all of them. I will tell you which ones I have, but they are wonderful books and I'm really excited. We have some new ones and we have some ones that have been on the shelf for a year or two. So we have a pretty good collection, I think. And that's something we strive for here is representation so that everybody feels seen and represented in our collections and our programming. It's important to the library that's true for all members of our community. So for LGBTQ History Month, the first book I wanted to talk about is a new one, and I just finished reading it. I brought it home with me. It is called The Gay Agenda. I am going to put slides of all these covers at the end, so if you don't get to write them down or can't see them clearly on the screen, don't worry. So The Gay Agenda is a modern queer history and handbook, and it's written by Ashley Malesso and Chess Needham. And it is really cool because it is a graphic novel. So for those of you who it's sort of like a comic book, but not entirely. It has text, but it also has lots of colorful images and pictures. And the thing that's great about this is it's chronologically ordered. So it goes from the history of LGBTQ from pre-1900s, like 9600 BCE is the first date they put in here. So it goes pretty far back, all the way to current day. And so it goes in order, and there are bits about pop culture and bits about individuals and a lot about people who've made strides towards equality for all in our rights and things. So I really enjoyed this book. I think it's a great history. It's a great starting place. If you don't know much about the history of the movement and you're interested, this is a great place. It's fun, it's bright, it's accurate, historically accurate, which is what we strive for in libraries, right? We want things that are not questionable in their logic or in their research. And this book is very well researched. So I learned some things, and I think lots of people could learn some things. So if you haven't checked it out yet, it's brand new, The Gay Agenda. Then I have a great book I bought a few years ago called 50 Queers Who Changed the World. It is a celebration of LGBTQ plus icons by Dan Jones. And this one is really neat because it's brief biographies of just a large number of people. And each one you'll see has a page with their picture or drawing, and then a page that has their story on it. And so you get to learn about all different historically LGBTQ figures who made big differences in our lives and our culture. And it's really, really well done. I enjoyed it very much. And just so we're clear, queer is a word that has been stigmatized in a lot of times, and it is something that the LGBTQ community is taking back. And so it's one of those words you have to be careful in your usage because you want to make sure that something people are comfortable with. So if somebody refers to themselves as queer, that's cool. And you can refer to them that way. But if they don't, then you probably don't want to use that word because it is something that has a sensitive history. It has been used in a derogatory manner for a long time. And so we just have to be sensitive around that subject. Okay, next book is actually a great history. It's called Stonewall. And it is a history of the riots that sparked the gay revolution in New York City. It has also been made into a major documentary called Stonewall Uprising. And is by David Carter. And this is, it's called, Publishers Weekly called it a permanent addition to the great histories of the civil rights era. So the riots happened in 1969 over police action against the Stonewall Inn, which was a famously gay bar, and they were being harassed in Greenwich Village in New York City. And it became a huge riot, which then kind of sparked a lot of the legal movement to make sure that there was equality for all, and everybody's rights were being respected. And so it is the beginning of the gay rights movement in legal terms anyway. And so that's why Pride Month is celebrated in June, because that's when the riots happened. So if you don't know anything about the riots or Stonewall, this would be a great starting place. And it gives you a lot of the history of the people that were involved and what happened and the legal ramifications of those things in later years. So Stonewall by David Carter. And then I have a couple that I have not read yet, but I keep meaning to. I have a giant to read list. I always do, because I buy all these things for you guys to read, and then I have to get to them all myself, and I just never get a chance. So the first one, this first one in the next group I'm talking about is called On Being Different by Merle Miller, and the subtitle is What It Means to Be a Homosexual. And so Merle was born in Iowa in 1919. And this book was originally published in 1971, and it is considered, as I'll just read to you from the back a little, a pioneering and thought-provoking book about being gay in America. And so it was published just 2 years after the Stonewall riots, which we just discussed, and it was an essay originally for the New York Times Magazine entitled What It Means to Be Homosexual, in response to a homophobic article in Harper's Magazine. So this is the most widely read and discussed essay of the decade, they said, and so it was turned into a shorter, like a longer form version here. It's still pretty short, it's only 75 pages or something, so it's not a super long read, but I think a very important read. And it was, again, kind of a monumental thing that this was published and so well read and discussed at the time, because in the early 70s things were still hard. I mean, not that they're easy now, but they were at a different place then. So I think if you're looking to get kind of a window into what it was like to be gay at that time, this book might be an excellent place to start. And then I have two that are more modern that are about the fight for marriage equality. And so the first one I have is called Speak Now, Marriage Equality on Trial. And it's the story of Hollingsworth versus Perry. So before the Supreme Court had the Obergefell versus Hodges that made gay marriage legal equality the law of the land, this was the California case that happened that made the most populous state in the nation legalize marriage for all. And so this story is written by Kenji Yoshino, who is the Chief Justice Earl Warren Professor of Constitutional Law at New York University School of Law, and the author of Covering the Hidden Assault on Our Civil Rights. So he's a New Yorker, and he wrote this book about this California case. It was a watershed trial, and it was in 2010. And so this is sort of where the first state made this stand, and then that led eventually to a federal decision in favor of marriage equality. So if you are curious about the origins of that, or some about the Supreme Court case, this might be interesting, because usually California tends to be out ahead. And so they were out ahead in this case, and you can read, this is supposed to be an excellent book, really well researched, and a story that's both timely and durable, it says. So Speak Now, Marriage Equality on Trial. And then the last book I wanted to talk about is called Forcing the Spring, which is Inside the Fight for Marriage Equality. And the Washington Post called it riveting legal drama, a spellbinder of a tale that, despite a finale reported around the world, manages to keep readers gripped until the very end. There is nothing better than a nonfiction book that tells a story you already know the end of and manages to be compelling still. I've seen a few of them, and this apparently is one of them. And Joe Becker, who wrote this book, is a winner of a Pulitzer Prize. So it's quality writing and quality research. And it has been called the definitive account of the battle for same-sex marriage rights, but it's also compassionate and thrilling and exciting. And so if you are into legal thrillers and courtroom drama, this book may be a great way for you to branch into some nonfiction and to read about something that's really important. So Joe Becker is a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, and this report covers 5 remarkable years in American civil rights history, when we experienced a tectonic shift on the issue of marriage equality. So all of these books are available in the system, not to mention we have a ton of books about famous figures in history that were part of the LGBTQ community. So if you need any advice or you're looking for a reading list, happy to provide one. We have plenty here and throughout the Mid-Hudson system. So let's all, learn a little bit more about our culture and history. We talked about Hispanic Heritage Month a month or so ago. Now it's time to talk about LGBTQ history, and we're always learning something, right? So I hope you enjoyed the book talk. If you need further suggestions or want some help figuring out what's the next thing or the best thing to read on a subject, let me know and I'm happy to provide. And I hope you are all enjoying your fall and celebrating October in all of the outdoor ways that we can. So if there's anything we can do for you, let us know. Feel free to make an appointment and come in and browse. And otherwise, you can pick up books at curbside and we're happy to help. I will see you next week, friends. Bye.